I just remembered you're a DJ.
Yes.
I just wanted to say that when I masturbate, I consider myself a DJ. Wicka wicka!
Hello, and thank you for listening to the Maximum Mediocrity podcast. My name is David Shockley.
And I'm Morgan Miller.
And this is the podcast that interviews people that aren't famous but should be. And our special guest today is Chris Haug, record collector and DJ. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So, Chris, the reason we wanted to have you on the show today is because we've noticed that vinyls have taken the fuck off.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've noticed this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you have any idea why this resurgence of vinyls and vinyl collecting has come into being as a way to listen to music in the digital era?
Yeah, I guess it was with Record Store Day, maybe however long ago that was, 11, 12 years now. I think that kind of jump-started it again. And I don't know, I think people started realizing that vinyl does sound better, not necessarily than CDs. I won't get into that argument. I'm not an audiophile by any means, but yeah, it just sounds better than MP3s and I don't know, just that tangible thing, something to hold, something to have. Yeah, it's a part of the fun.
I hear a lot when I'm looking at vinyl over CDs or over other ways to listen to music, I hear presence comes up a lot. What does that mean?
Yeah, I'd say, it's not as compressed as a CD. Definitely not nearly as compressed as an MP3. So, if you have a decent player, some decent equipment, a lot of people use the term warmer, even without a tube amplifier, just a solid state. And it just has a warmer presence, a warmer sound. It's a little bit bigger. Me personally, I'm not a huge audiophile. I got into vinyl collecting back in the early to mid 90s when the CD boom was kind of taking off and everybody was getting rid of their records. So for me, it's just been a hobby. It's just been the fun of finding something that's harder to find, because not as many were made, when CDs came on. They might do a vinyl run of only 1,000 or something. So it was fun to try to get those back in the 90s and then going back and finding stuff from the 80s, the 70s, the 60s, the 50s.
Back when vinyls were the shit, that was the main way to listen to music.
Yeah, for sure. But then into the 2000s, it was still a hobby for me, even though the boom hadn't really happened yet. Yeah, so I've been collecting for a bit. And for me, again, it's just the thrill of the hunt, finding something old. And I do listen to reissues and get reissues if it's something that's just out of reach. But I generally stick with original pressings and try to find, the old originals.
If you can find the originals, you'd rather do that. But
yeah, for sure. But again, it's not a sound quality thing necessarily. For me, it's the thrill of the hunt, part of the fun. But original pressings for a lot of labels tend to sound better than some of the bootlegs or unauthorized stuff that happened in the 90s or whatever.
What is this now? There was non-official pressings?
Sure. So,
never heard of this.
Yeah, so let's say some things were released in the 60s or the 70s, and then years later, they're hard to find. Maybe they were small run, maybe they were private press things, and then everybody kind of wants these, but maybe only 500 were made or 1,000 were made. Bootlegs started popping up, unauthorized versions. Maybe they just, they got a shitty recording of it, maybe from a crackly record that, was kind of scratched up, and then they use that, and they start making pressings of that. So I suppose that's what I mean when I say going back to the originals and, not finding bootleg copies and stuff like that. But
when you say vinyl stealing and vinyl bootlegs, I know we were talking it's a 90s thing, but yeah. I just imagine a villain with a top hat and that evil nyak, nyak, nyak,
right.
Rubbing his lips together over a phonograph, going nyak, nyak, haha, I doubt it, you'll
Absolutely.
never get me, Dundee.
Absolutely, yeah. No, that was the guy, but
that was him.
Yeah,
it was all
but it was
his
a lot
fault.
easier back then, right? And I guess copyright stuff and whatever. You could just get something and send it off to a pressing plant and have it made. And there's a lot of live shows, and I guess the way around it is they wouldn't give the track listings or anything like that to the pressing plant, and unless the pressing plant decided to listen to it or spin it, then they wouldn't know that it was a live Pink Floyd show or whatever, King Crimson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they get them back and make some money off them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can drink to that. How are you with hard liquor? This is our theme of the show, is we normally start every show with a shot. How are you with liquor?
Yeah, I like whiskeys, bourbons.
Do you remember the first time you had bourbon?
The first time I had bourbon, maybe 18 or 19, probably.
Do you remember that day at all?
Yeah, for sure.
most people normally, it's
I
a
didn't
pretty
get
vague
sick from
memory.
it though. Yeah, no, I didn't get sick. Like I think I was responsible that first time.
You were a responsible
Vodka's,
18-year-old?
Yeah, a little bit later. No, maybe that's why I stay away from the clear liquors these days.
Is that what it
'Cause
was?
I have bad memories of just overdoing it. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's whatever you overdid it on. That's the one you stay away from.
absolutely.
It's usually your first love, the first liquor that you like really get into. That's the one. I would say personally for me, it was Irish car bombs specifically.
Yeah.
And I used to love them. And then you just have too many one night, which for anybody listening is more than one. I went to 4.
Oof.
And ever since then, I can't drink Guinness and I can't drink whatever the whiskey that's in there.
Yeah,
the Irish
Jameson
whiskey.
or whatever.
Yeah, the Jameson. I can't do it anymore. So that's the one I stay away from.
Got it.
Just for the listeners at home, David's a pussy.
Confirmed.
I'll cheers to that.
So, Morgan, what are we drinking today?
Ooh, we are drinking Knob Creek.
Nice.
Yes, Kentucky straight whiskey bourbon. Because
Smells
there's
good.
not a difference, it sounds like.
Smells good.
Just like your mom's pussy lips.
Oh!
A little bit. Nah, it's an old memory.
And Morgan, what are we washing that down with?
Ooh, this is the Hemperor, an HPA, which is a hemp pale ale.
Ooh.
It gets that dank smell that you're getting from the bottle.
It smells like weed.
It smells like weed. It's brewed with hemp seeds.
Who the fuck thought to do that?
Colorado, right?
You're right.
Collins, Fort Collins, Colorado. Yeah.
Boom. There it is.
Cheers to Record Store Day. Oh, man.
That's tasty. Burns
Right.
more than a car bomb.
So why Dusty Fingers?
I like digging in the crates, getting down and dirty. So not just record stores, but flea markets, thrift stores, basements, attics, garages.
What's the most unsuspecting place that you found, like, really good records?
I guess you kind of expect to find good stuff at the flea market every now and again, but I've had some really good finds out in the dirt, from people just selling all kinds of shit, but they had a crate of records and you go through, you're first, find $1,000 piece or whatever, like crazy
What?
stuff. Yeah.
You found $1,000 piece at, like, a...
$700, $800, dollar pieces. I have friends that have found over that, so.
And do you just collect them or do you sell them as well?
Both, yeah. Yeah, so I do trade shows. I set up at like punk rock flea markets sometimes.
Oh, I know the punk rock flea market. They do them in Newark a lot.
Yes, there's one coming up. I think we're doing February 17th at the Newark Bike Project.
Awesome.
That should be cool. I'll be set up at that. Yeah, all kinds of good stuff. I think people are. They'll have zines, like clothing, other memorabilia as well, but lots of records.
Hella local stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
So that should be cool. But yeah, so I set up. I sell sometimes. But yeah, a lot of collecting. Like I just like to find stuff for myself.
And do you find that, like, if you find like an $800 or $700 piece at a yard sale, how long does it take to get that to sell?
I suppose it depends what it is. If it's a desirable piece that a lot of people want, I tend not to sell online. I like to do stuff locally, so it maybe take a little bit longer. A lot of times I do trades too. So let's say most of the time my wheelhouse of stuff I find is in the $50 to $100 range. A lot of $20, $30 stuff, but yeah. So the $50 to $100 stuff, I could usually move it pretty quickly.
So I thought it would be fun to make our own DJ names, David.
Did you?
I did. I thought of one for myself.
What would be your DJ name, Morgan, if you were going to hit the scene?
MC Wire.
Why MC Wire?
Because MC is a type of wire.
You're an electrician. Yeah.
I thought it was a play on words, if you will.
But
But David, what would yours be?
mine would be DJ Cold Hands.
Why DJ Cold Hands?
Because all these kids spitting fire, someone's got to put them out.
Nice.
Do you go by like a DJ name?
Usually just my name, Chris Haug.
If you could pick anyone, like if you could do it all again.
So that's tough for me. I should have had a cool DJ name, but I couldn't think of one. That
DJ
wasn't
Dusty
already
Fingers
taken.
is a good one, I think.
It's all right,
When I read that, I thought that was the DJ name.
When I spin at 1984, sometimes on the flyer they'll put DJ Boss Hog. They didn't really ask my permission.
That's not how you pronounce
I
it.
know, and we went through this, but that's how the owner pronounced it. So it kind of
He's
stuck.
paying you.
It kind of stuck, yeah. When I spin there,
So what kind of events do you spin at?
bars. I started doing weddings about 5 or 6 years ago. I prefer doing bars. 1984 Oddity Bar locally. I've done Sweet 16s, which are interesting.
Go on.
With that particular,
Yeah.
yeah. The last one I did, I think, was in May. The playlist, not really my wheelhouse of stuff what 16-year-olds are listening to per se, and not much vinyl. So it's a lot of Spotify or whatever.
Okay, so
Yeah, so I'll do that as well.
that was going to be my next question: is if you don't have that particular record,
Not strictly vinyl, yeah, when I do those sorts of things. Now, if I go to Oddity Bar in 1984, I will only bring vinyl because, it's kind of on me just to play whatever I want.
I imagine that if you are doing an all vinyl set, is the equipment that you have to bring, is that a lot more to do just because it is all vinyl, or is it kind of the same?
So 84 is cool. All I have to bring are my 2 turntables and a mixer, and some headphones. He plugs everything into their sound system. When I do Oddity Bar, he has turntables and a mixer, so I have to bring in my records and some headphones. When I do weddings, I have my own setup, PA system and all that, and I've done some outdoor events. It's a little trickier, I guess, setting all that up.
So you're not stingy about what turntable set that you use. I've heard that this is the thing.
In what sense?
Where some DJs will only use certain turntables because they
No, I'm
believe
not
they're
too
superior.
particular. Yeah, no. I've done certain things where clubs have asked to bring your own needles, which makes sense, because they don't want their needles or styluses getting all banged up all the time by guest DJs. So I've had to bring, those before, which was fine. But no, I'm not too particular.
They don't like to share their needles.
No. There's programs for that. Exchanges.
Have you ever got the opportunity to do the awkward record scratch to stop the music when somebody does something weird?
I haven't. Used to work at a record store where I would occasionally do that if end of the night, it's 6:30 or 8 o'clock, whatever the time is, and you want people to get out. It's either that or you play a record slowed down, at the wrong speed.
Oh,
yeah.
that's torture.
I know. Sometimes I've actually brought that into the set. Phil Collins in the Air Tonight, slow down. That's a good jam. Yeah. And I discovered it, I think by, doing it at a record store.
I'm just saying, at one of these Sweet 16s, there's a bunch of awkward kids running around.
Yeah.
You just lock in on one right when he spills some punch or gets it on the birthday girl's dress or something. Just,
Yeah.
and then just go, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got in this situation.
Or that person walks into the room with the purple leisure suit and is like, what? It's 2019. What are you doing?
You can make an 80s movie out of this. It's at your hands. So I imagine you don't do the record scratch thing.
I don't, yeah. So I don't really have hip-hop roots. I do appreciate it and love that scene, but I came more from a punk, hardcore kind of roots. That's how I got into record collecting, I guess, back in the early to mid-90s.
Is it true that finding punk records is more difficult than finding other records, especially originals, because there was so little printed?
Sure, yeah. Obviously, yeah, classic rock's more common, more popular. So, finding Boston records and Kansas records are definitely, any popular mainstream artist, there's a lot more of those than whatever such punk artists. But then, things like the Ramones or Talking Heads or that whole scene, those were repressed a lot of times. And, those are easier to find. That kind of puts the value on a record of supply and demand, if you want an original copy of such and such, punk or hardcore record from the late 70s, early 80s, Misfits, Bad Brains, that sort of stuff, yeah, it's harder to find. Yeah.
What would you say is your most played record?
Most played record? Probably some John Coltrane stuff at home. I like to listen to him a lot. Trying to think of some classics that I've had for a long time, though, that's probably gotten a lot of play. Black Sabbath's Masters of Reality was my first record I found it at a thrift store.
What was it? What was your first record?
Black Sabbath's Masters of Reality.
Do you still have it?
Oh, yeah. Still have that old
awesome.
scratchy copy, and I've gotten better copies since then. But I think it was 1993. I was in 8th grade, and some friends and I were digging at a thrift store, and records were plentiful back then. But yeah, found a Black Sabbath record for $1. Took it home and loved it, and kind of got me into the game of going and trying to find old records.
Is there a album that's out there that you've been searching for? What's the Moby Dick album that you've been looking for?
Yeah. I guess I have a handful on my list of things that.
A handful of dicks you've been looking for?
Yeah, they've been on my list for a while.
Been on my list too.
Yeah. Just got to go to the right streets. No, I can't really think of the Holy Grail album. I've never seen a Beatles Butcher cover. It'd be fun to find that, out in the wild. That was, guys know that story?
What is that?
So the Beatles, had this record where on the cover it's them holding decapitated bloody baby dolls or whatever, and goes out into the stores, gets pulled right away, bring them back, paste over those copies with a new cover yesterday and today. So, that first run is hard to find, so Beatles collectors really want it. And there's ways of telling of that first press, the ones that they pasted, the new cover over, and there's ways of getting that off, even though it's 50 years old or whatever at this point, and it could be tricky with old glue, so that you don't tear the original cover. But yeah, I've never owned one of those or seen one of those. They might go for $700-800, if found clean. But I'm not a huge Beatles collector or fan, so that's not a white whale or
There's
whatever
kind of
for
enough.
me.
There's enough Beatles collectors out there that
Sure.
I don't think that you need to. Tap
I don't need to be
into
one
that
of them,
market.
right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I don't know. A lot of times I try to find like weird, funky, fuzzy stuff from around the world, like some of the African countries or Brazil, which is tough to find in Delaware, of course. So that brings on like the trading. I might be able to find some stuff other people are looking for and trade them for some of these things from around the world. So that's part of the fun.
How many records would you say that you own?
I fluctuate, because I sell a lot too, but in the basement right now of stuff that I have on my shelves and stuff I have for sale, probably over 10,000.
Over
God.
10,000? That's now Jay Leno owns over like 280 vehicles.
Ooh.
And I wonder, like, how does he pick what he's going to go to work in? Like, so when,
Right.
kind of same thing, like when you're
Sure.
like, I want to put on a record. How the fuck
Yeah.
do you decide between 10,000
Blindly.
records?
Just pull it out, yeah, blindly.
Eeny,
So I-
meeny, miny, mo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Catch a tiger by the toe. You pick whichever one your mama told you so.
If he hollers, Bruce Springsteen.
Well, I have to keep them in some sort of order that I understand, right? That others might not, but I have to
Alphabetized.
alphabetize, but within genres most of the time. But just easy for me to find. So doing the DJ thing too. If I want to go to play at a gig and I need to get a bunch of stuff together, with 10,000, I have to know how to find that album. So, yeah, on the shelves they're all pretty much categorized, and I can find stuff pretty quickly.
How much space does 10,000 records take up?
A lot.
Are you
Yeah,
married?
A whole bit. No.
I can
Exactly.
tell because you have 10,000 records
And they
in your
creep in other
basement.
rooms too. Yeah. The living room, the bedroom, the kitchen. Yeah, they all have records in them.
So I have a legitimate question.
Okay.
I bought a record. I bought it while I was in Canada, and on the ride home, the album Warped. How do I flatten my record?
It's tough. Is it a gnarly warp? So like when you play
Yes.
it, like it's not playable?
I was going to
It
say it's
jumps
not
around.
playable.
Yeah. There's crazy machines, that you probably don't want to
I
get
was
into
going
or
to say I
spend
don't own
on.
one of those, unfortunately.
Yeah, people say like I haven't tried it, but 2 panes of glass like in the sun, on a warm sunny day. I wouldn't mess with an oven. Most ovens,
I was
like the
gonna say, I
lowest is like
Googled it, and they said oven.
175, Fahrenheit. I think that's kind of risky. I haven't messed around much with that because I don't have any like super rare albums that aren't replaceable that I need to necessarily fix. But
Putting an album in an oven just sounds horrifying. Like anything I put into an oven, I just assume I'm never going to see it again.
yeah, you want to make a bowl out of it at that point, right?
Yeah.
Or an
there you go.
ashtray. Yeah,
They do make some pretty cool ashtray ones.
they do. Yeah.
Does that like make you cringe a little bit when you see like stuff made out of vinyl?
I do, yeah. I've seen some Instagram accounts where people like, I don't know, they tear them up and they make art out of it. It's like, oh, there's a David Bowie record. That's a good record. That's a $20 record. And hopefully it was thrashed or scratched up, when they got it. And we have some people that hit me up or whatever and buy records in bulk for cheap, like dollar records, just so they can make clocks and bowls and stuff out of them.
Cheap stuff.
Yeah, for sure. But there's these cool people locally that make these clocks that are pretty cool.
Oh, I did have a question about vinyls themselves.
Yeah.
Since we haven't talked about vinyls at all. I've seen a debate online of where the black vinyls play better than colored vinyls. Do you think
Yeah.
there's truth to that?
Yeah, I mean, I've read that before. I don't know necessarily why. I don't know if it's a thinner thing.
Do you think it's just a material, just the
Could be,
materials that
absolutely.
it's made out of?
Yeah,
is
some of the
maybe
stuff that's in
bouncier?
there. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure.
Another
Or
thing.
definitely picture discs. I think that's a lesser quality vinyl. They look cool, but have you guys ever seen those picture discs where the artwork is actually on the record?
Oh, okay. So it's like it's still a circle, but like it's actually pressed in it.
Yeah, like you can get like Michael Jackson's Thriller, but it's him right on the actual record.
And you say those don't play
Yeah,
well.
they don't. Well, I think they deteriorate quicker over time. Like they start sounding shittier. With more plays.
The only one that I've ever seen that wasn't black, I think, was a Macedon, and it was like aquamarine.
Okay.
It looked really cool.
They do look cool. Yeah, I pick them up still too. The whole thing with like the record store day, a lot of them will have like limited edition colored vinyl or marbled vinyl, and yeah, they definitely look cool.
There's an album I've been trying to get that was a Record Store Day exclusive. I don't care if you judge me for my musical tastes here, but it was a Green Day album called Demolicious. And it was only sold on Record Store Day.
Okay.
And I'm sure you can still find it, but that's been like my Moby Dick that I've been looking for.
Okay. I like the early Green Day stuff. I kind of lost them right after Dookie.
Everybody did.
Yeah.
Now see, I jumped on. I'm a little younger, so I jumped on at American Idiot when they took over the world.
Yeah.
And then I went back and I listened to Dookie and Kerplunk and the rest of their albums, and I was like, oh my god, this is good too, but for different reasons. But immediately after American Idiot, it has been a downhill ride ever since.
Which Record Store Day was this? How long ago?
Ooh, I want to say at least 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
I want to
keep an eye out. Yeah. If I see one turn up, I'll email you or whatever.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
Sweet.
absolutely.
Because I'm a huge Green Day fan, and I would love to.
Yeah.
Do I have Green Day up? Yeah, I do. I have Shenanigans up there right now.
I actually DJ'd at the, what was that? It was like the Play for American Idiot in Wilmington at some sort of theater, which I can't remember now, but we spun outside. And how unpunk rock is this? They actually told us to turn down. They said we were too loud.
What?
Yeah, I was playing like cool shit. Wire and The
down
Damned and like
for
old 77 punk. And they're like, ugh, yeah. I didn't play Little John, but I should have.
Damn, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
And that's what annoys me is like being a Green Day fan. And like that was my intro into punk rock, and then I learned about NoFX and like the Descendants from there.
Sure.
And it's like, this was not a great intro. I got these roots in this commercial shit.
So, you were talking about Demolicious, but it made me think of a song that I hear, but it also makes me cringe because it's not like an excellent song, but it makes me laugh. It's called Rebelicious by Jamie Johnson. Ooh. And it is exactly what it sounds like.
Rebellious.
Yeah.
I don't know that one.
Morgan, if you could have a record, any record to display, what would it be?
Like, are you talking about, like, album art? Or, like, just a record I'd like to have?
Yeah, a vinyl that you would like to own. Maybe it has some type of sentimental value to you, or it just is a cool album cover, something like that. Something you think you'd like to display. A think piece or a conversation starter.
I really like... My favorite album that I think I've ever listened to is George Strait's Twang.
That would be the one.
That's my favorite one. So
I can't picture that album art right now. Can you describe it?
He's like just drunkenly sitting in like a pickup truck, and he has his little cowboy hat on, you know, the white hat, and he just looks like he's had the best day ever, even though it has one of the saddest songs of all time on it. But every other song besides that song on that album is upbeat, like boot tapping music.
Yeah.
What about you? Do you have like an album that you love to display, or is that like a rotating thing?
I do rotate, yeah, from time to time. I'm trying to think of something that's been up for a while on the shelves. Some of my horror movie soundtracks I think look really cool, like the Dunwich Horror. I love that artwork. Some of the Goblin, the old Italian horror movie soundtrack stuff, I think looks really cool. So I kind of keep those on the front of the shelves a lot, but it does rotate. If I discover something I haven't listened to in a few years and I want to listen to it again, keep it in rotation, I kind of put it up front on the shelf.
Kind of related to that, but do you think that going from vinyl to CDs and now digital stuff where you just download songs, how do you think that's affected album art?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I mean, I've always enjoyed just having that big artwork in front of me with the liner notes and going through and reading it all. And like I said, growing up like in the punk, hardcore era, like just the thanks list that we used to see. Like, and they'd thank all their friends and all their bands, and then you'd go like, oh, who's that band or who's that guy? And, you try to find that. I know I've always appreciated that, as opposed to MP3s or whatever, something you download on a blog or whatever, you just get like a little square. And I know you don't appreciate it I don't appreciate it as much as having the physical thing there. And I think that's a part of it for me too, is just having the artwork.
Because it's in your face.
Yeah, it's in your face. It's right there. It's a piece of art, right?
It is. It's the size of a piece of art.
Yeah.
Unlike a CD where it's kind of just meant to grab you off the shelves.
Yeah.
With
it's
vinyl.
Convenient, right? Yeah. And I don't, poo-poo on CDs or whatever. I don't collect them, but I do have them. And they're nice to have in the car or whatever. Have a bunch in a multi-player CD player that, I have in the living room, that sort of thing. But yeah, just that big giant artwork's always been fun. It's like a piece of art.
Because it gives you an idea of more of the full piece of work that went into this.
Absolutely.
It's like, you had to hire this artist who had to visualize and take all these directions. And I think it makes it a more complete piece of work.
Like how it was meant to be seen and appreciated. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, and I meant to ask, with the resurgence of vinyl as a means of listening, do you think that's been a good thing for you as a collector? Or kind of, I want to get your take on it. Do you think it's just a bunch of hipster stuff? I just kind of want to pick your brain about, like, do you think this is a good thing or not?
Absolutely. No, I do enjoy that more people are getting into it. Younger generation, or whether it be like, baby boomers that are like getting back into it and like trying to get old records that they used to have. That's definitely good, like for me on the selling point, because, it's easy for me to, when I go to these flea markets and thrift stores to stockpile on, some Led Zeppelins and Kansas and Billy Joel records, and then, be able to share them again, with people that are getting back into it or, appreciating it for the first time. So, yeah, I don't know if the bubble's going to burst, anytime soon. And I'm not going to stop, if it does. I've been collecting for so long and it's been fun for me. But
have you seen it have prices gone up since?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I think the heyday was in the late 90s, early 2000s, where everybody was getting rid of their record collections and, you could go to the thrift stores and it was easier. So that's been a little bit harder. I still have to get up pretty early on a Saturday morning to get to the flea markets to get there first to get stuff for good prices. But that's part of the fun. I get stuff for cheap and then, I can sell it for market value or trade it for market value for other things that I'm interested in. Yeah. Kind of like antique collectors or whoever else, that does that sort of thing.
So getting there early is still a big part of it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you have like a favorite like song?
I don't. There's nothing I really...
I was gonna say, I always ask that question. Nobody ever has like has an answer. It's like, no, I just like so much stuff.
Yeah, it changes a lot. There's definitely different moods that like go to late at night for me, and like winding down, calming down. It's like good albums like Miles Davis, Kinda Blue. Yeah, that's a go-to for me. I listen to that a lot.
Now, you said that you're not an audiophile.
I'm not.
You don't care too much about like what is coming. And people that don't know, audiophile is somebody who fucks music. Like you don't care what it's really coming out of, what the speakers are producing. You're just kind of, how it is how it is.
Sure. So I guess I use decent equipment, but I don't know. Yeah, I definitely notice a difference between like a little Crosley turntable or a suitcase turntable, you can get for $50 to $80 as a starter thing, versus a nicer, whatever, Marantz, receiver and, I don't know. Yeah, a really nice $400, $500 turntable that was built in the 70s. There's definitely a difference, but the gear I have, I think's generally in the $300 to $400, setup. That's what I have upstairs and then downstairs. Maybe like a $500 system or whatever. But it can get into the tens of thousands. Crazy stuff like that. Or people that go for certain pressings that were original masters and sound better. But for me, the vinyl collecting hobby is more of starting when I did and just never getting out of that, and then the thrill of the hunt, finding something that's rare or only 500 copies were made or something like that. I appreciate that side of it more so than the sound of 180 grams versus like maybe a scratchier record from the 60s that wasn't completely taken care of or might have been partied on.
That was well used, that was enjoyed and loved.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of like a good commuter car that's gone through like generations of a family.
So I'd rather find that well-loved, maybe a little bit scratchy 60s pressing that, only 500 copies were made rather than, a later pressing that somebody reissued that's easy to find for $20, these days.
I'm glad you say that because I have a record upstairs that was my mother's of The Wall by Pink Floyd. And I guess she got it in high school, and like all of her high school friends.
She drew on it?
Yeah, they all drew on it.
I see that a lot. It's fun.
Is this a thing for that album?
Sure. Or the Beatles' White Album, I see that all the time. The White Album, it's just white cover. People drawing all over it.
My boyfriend collects records, and he has the White Album up there, and it took me until literally probably 3 weeks ago to realize that's actually an album.
Yeah.
Because there's just like, he has them like hung up on the wall, like a couple of them. It's like maybe like 30 of them. And it's like all of like the classic ones like Thriller, all of the ones that you like, the mainstream ones.
Yeah.
And then there's just like this blank spot, and I just thought there wasn't one there.
Blends in with the wall. Yeah.
My favorite one he has up there is a Jimi Hendrix one, and it's just all naked women.
Yeah, the Electric Ladyland with the nude cover. Yeah.
We just have this. I pointed to it and I was like, that looks a lot like Michelle Obama.
Oh, yeah? You think? Oh, I could see that.
One of the women on there, I was
Sure,
like,
I can picture right
I'm
now.
pretty sure
A little bit.
that woman might be Michelle Obama.
And this is a conspiracy.
Between me and Joe.
Yeah, 1968 or so, right?
That's the right timeline.
Was that right timeline? Yeah, she might have been like 20, 21. But yeah, drawn on covers are fun. I do collect those. There's actually a collector that I follow on Instagram that we buy white albums, and that's the whole entire account. 600-700 posts of just white albums that he's found, different drawn on covers. Yeah, he'll go around the world or around the nation at least to collect and find covers.
Wow, that's of just the white album.
Just the white album though. Yeah, we buy white albums. I think is the handle or whatever on Instagram.
That's so cool.
But it's fun, right? Yeah, and all the drawn, like there's so many drawn on ones. Like everybody drew on that one,
But yeah, and like the Wall album that I now have is like the most important album that I have because it tells this story. It has this history to it.
Sure.
And it looks like it was so loved and played.
That's part of the fun too, right? Who had this, copy or whatever. And sometimes you'll see, like, I've seen jazz records that had, like, Miles Davis's name written on the back. Maybe it was in Miles's collection. Who knows?
Whoa.
Yeah, so fun stuff like that. There's also a fun Instagram account called Things I Found in Records. So drawings, artwork. I submitted some stuff to him before, but I found a Rick James record for $1, like in the dollar bins at a record store, and had a bunch of photographs, Polaroid photographs, some big hoop earrings, little white baggie of substance, presumably coke, maybe heroin.
Did you snort it?
Did not, but
Then we'll never know.
it is missing from the record now. So somebody who I've told this story to that has been at my house listening to records might have taken it. I don't know.
Whoa.
So that is now missing from this, but at least I got the proof on that website when I snapped the photo. But
That's
that was
fucking
fun. Oh, there was
nuts.
IDs too, licenses. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and so they're all piled inside this record. And it's funny, it was thick as hell, and somebody who was pricing records with the gun missed that one because priced at $1.
Whoa. Because they just think, it's just a record. Maybe it's like some special thing that's in there.
Maybe it is still worth $1, but to me, like, I don't know. That's awesome.
Was this a record or somebody's purse?
Exactly. So I hide things in records too. If you feel like going through 10,000 records and, finding some documents, some money, whatever. Yeah.
That's awesome. You hide stuff in there. I love it.
Artwork. Yeah. My son's artwork. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
When I buy books, I like to buy used books because the same thing happens. I find things inside of these books. My favorite thing is I bought this Stephen King book, and it was Insomnia. It was a newspaper clipping it was a review of the book, and it was all yellowed and aged, and I just thought that was so cool that I found that inside of the book. I found like post-it notes, like people have written on the inside of these books. I just find it fun to find like the little tidbits that people leave behind.
Absolutely. Yeah, me too. I love that. Records.
So, how long have you been collecting records? You said the early 90s?
Yeah, I was in 8th grade, so yeah. 94. Yeah.
So I have a few questions of advice that I want to ask you for somebody getting into record collecting.
Yeah.
Although, do you really get into record collecting, or does it just happen? You just wake up one day and you have 20 records?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, somebody wants to get into it, or they get their first record, or it's gifted to them, or they get a turntable, maybe for a holiday or a birthday, and they just get into it.
Because that's how I feel like I have like 20 records upstairs before I ever had a record player.
Yeah.
And then when I got a record player, I was like, fuck, I guess I collect these now.
I hear that a lot too, like people that will pick up records, like maybe on Record Store Day, or it's a band they really like, in the Green Day, or whatever the case may be, Pearl Jam, and they have a special limited release, but, they don't have a turntable, but they enjoy just collecting it. Yeah.
This happens. It's not like you actively say, like, I'm going to collect records now.
I don't think so. Yeah.
So, first I want to ask you, I know you said you're not an audiophile, which is good. That's why I want to ask you this question. If you're going to listen to records, what do you recommend just to start out to use to listening to them?
Sure. So Audio-Technica is a company that makes some good, inexpensive, generally $80 to $120 turntables that are decent.
Fucking love Audio-Technica.
Yeah.
My headphones are Audio-Technica.
Okay, nice. Yeah, they make good stuff. I usually don't recommend Crosley to people. I know Dogfish had endorsed Crosley a few years ago for Record Store Day, but I don't know.
Yeah, they make beer. What the fuck do they know about audio?
Yeah, I mean, Sam's a, record collector too, so I don't know why they endorsed it, but...
So,
Getting on that hipster train. That's what it was.
look,
Maybe.
so I just want to circle back to Dogfish. We went to the liquor store today, me and David, and I picked up a case of beer.
Oh, this was crazy.
Okay, it wasn't a case. It was like a little 4-pack. I go out to the register.
Boutique pack.
Yeah.
Fuck. I just saw it. It said it was brewed with brown sugar and raisins. And that sounds delicious
Raisin
to me
Dietrich.
because
Like-
I fucking love raisins.
Like grandma's cookies.
So, right? I'm just saying, I love me some oatmeal raisin cookies. And so I take it up to the counter and I go to buy it. And the man has like a thick accent. So I think he says, so the whole thing will be $13.99.
Yeah.
And I look up at the price thing and it says $39.99
For a 4-pack?
What
for
the
a
fuck?
4-pack.
Gosh, that's some crazy shit.
I was speechless for just one moment. I was like, I will not be buying this.
No.
And he's like, you can buy one for $11.99. That's what I was
Oh.
trying to tell you, that one is $11,
Beth-
but all of them are $39.99.
Definitely boutique, yeah.
How the fuck you sleep at night?
Yeah.
How do you sleep at night, Sam? Corleone, however
So-
you say your last name.
Was that the
bowl of spaghetti?
raisin one, or is that like that worldwide stout one that's like super expensive and limited and they spend all these years on?
I fucking don't
It's
even
crazy
know
though,
what it was
right?
called.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
it
buy
had
that
like
shit.
an obscure name. There was
Yeah.
a comma in the name, first of all.
That's how you know. If there's a tilde in the name, maybe
Oh.
an ampersand.
So I've had that raisin one, and I feel
Is
like
it delicious?
It's been a while. Yeah, it's really good. It's
I
not
wanted to get it, but I'm
necessarily
not paying $11.99 for one fucking bottle.
not grandma's cookies good, but which are cheap and free, right? But
Right.
I don't know. It's been a few years since I've gotten that one, but I don't remember it being $11.99.
I think the greatest part about that story is as Morgan was like, I'm not buying that. And we walked out of the store. And as we're walking to the car, there's a guy who was in the liquor store with us with his kid, his like 8-year-old kid.
Little person. Yeah.
Little person.
Little human. Mhm.
We're walking out and he's in the parking lot as well. And he goes, so what was that beer about? What was the percentage of that beer? It's like, whoa, buddy, you have an 8-year-old and you're still trying to party? Relax.
Also, he bought Coors Light. No, it was
Michelob Ultra?
no.
he doesn't golf then.
the one with the lime.
Budweiser.
Bud Light Lime.
Corona. There it is. You put a lime in it. It was so much Corona. I was like, you're not going back in there to buy that fancy beer, asshole, with your fucking tips done. Did you notice that?
I didn't notice that. Oh, God.
He had curly hair, but the tips were all blonde.
I have to ask you this
Curly
because
tips.
you have
Frosted tips.
you have a small person.
I do.
Have you ever brought them into a liquor store?
Sure.
That's okay, and I'm not judging. I just
Yeah.
want to know more.
Okay.
Because me as a person, obviously, I do not have kids. Morgan does not have kids.
Yeah.
Generally, we see liquor stores as places for adults, and
Yeah.
maybe we wouldn't want to expose our kids to that life. But
Doesn't everybody end up drinking when they're... No, I mean, not everybody.
I mean,
suppose.
I was brought into liquor stores as a kid.
I was
Me
too,
too,
so that's
me
probably
too.
why. That's probably why we're there.
Yeah, and I just-
when I'm running my errands, you know, like we're doing our thing, we go to the supermarket, you stop at the liquor store too, because it's right there. I'm a single dad, so like, how else do I get to the liquor store?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure if like, oh, well, I'll just put you in the car for a second. Or
Yeah, it's
They
probably
really
better to bring
frown
them
at
in.
that now. They
Yeah,
really
they
frown at that now. They break windows
hot,
now.
If it's cold, they break windows. Yeah, you just bring them in for
You just bring them in.
3 minutes. You get what you want.
I remember one time I went into a liquor store with my dad. I was probably 10.
Yep.
And I remember walking in and the counter guy was like, "Are you 18?" And I almost and I went, "Yes." Just instinctively.
Ring me up.
And he went, "He can't," and he looked at my dad and he goes, "He can't be in there." I was like, "I thought you could, what the fuck? I'm not buying anything, dude. I'm with my dad, bro."
Yeah, I just say hands at your sides. He puts his hands to his sides so he doesn't touch anything.
Oh,
That's probably
adorable.
Yeah.
because a child can cost a lot in a liquor store.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I just
Johnny Walker.
So, yesterday, me and David ended up going to the same bar, unplanned. It was a surprise.
Nice.
But it was beautiful.
It worked out.
It was a great time. So, I'm here with my girlfriends, and I look at the table behind us. Keep in mind, this bar doesn't serve food. And there's just a baby. I mean, okay, it was probably like a 7-year-old kid.
He was a 10-year-old, I'd say max.
But I'm just, I couldn't get over it. I was like, why is your kid...
Don't serve food.
They don't serve food. It's not like we were at like a bar that also is a restaurant. We were at a bar. bar.
So that's a thing now. So not a bar, but like these brew pubs. Like I'll throw out some names like Belfont Brewery or Wilmington Brew Works. Like they're kid friendly and dog friendly, right? I don't know. I go there sometimes and they have things for the kids, so parents can go and hang out and
That's
have a beer or two. You know.
I think if
Just like
there
the
were no
Oktoberfest.
kid-friendlies.
No, maybe not a bar.
activities.
I've never brought my kid to a bar.
yeah,
but,
this was specifically like
no food,
They
nothing.
just brew and
Do they brew the beer there?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a thing. Yeah, they're doing that now. It's family, kid friendly, dog friendly. Not
I
cat.
feel like dog
not
and
cat
kid friendly is two different things.
Is it two different things?
Listen, if I'm drunk and there's a dog, I'm having the greatest fucking day ever.
Okay.
There has been dogs there.
Have you seen
though.
those dogs that jump up on the tables though, and they knock your beer or your glass over?
I
I
have.
have never seen that.
I have.
I would be mad immediately.
I have not seen a kid do that. I'm just saying.
I have never seen a dog do that. And if the dog does do that, I'm okay as long as somebody now pays for my beer because
Sure.
you brought something. If a kid does that, if a kid knocks over my
You
beer,
pay for the beer. Yeah, absolutely.
parent pays for the beer, right?
Absolutely.
But my thing with this baby is this
It's a 10-year-old baby.
It's a little kid. It's an old baby. That's what we call it here. That's an old baby.
Senior babies.
Senior baby.
Alumni baby.
So this woman, they have like no alcohol at the table. I do not know what this woman's doing here, and she's just clutching this baby to her face. Their faces are touching. I am uncomfortable looking at the pair of them. They're just like, they look like Holocaust survivors.
They do. They're like holding
strange.
each other like it's a chemo appointment.
Wild. Yeah.
We have no idea why they're there. But
Why are they there?
like me,
No one knows.
Are they with another person? Or a
I
group of
never
people?
saw that person.
Oh, okay.
there was a father.
David claims there's a father, but I never saw the father.
Like I don't know. I personally, if I'm going to just a bar, I'm not good with children. I don't know how to act around children because I don't have kids. I've done my best to avoid them at all costs.
You're going to the bar. You don't want to see kids.
I don't want to see kids.
Yeah.
And so when a kid is there, it's like, oh, now I got to watch my mouth.
You understand, like, if you're at a Buffalo Wild Wings or something like that.
If it was a
Yeah,
Buffalo
okay,
Wild Wings,
Right. There's kids there. You're still getting drunk or whatever the case may be, eating wings, and that's okay.
Yeah, if I'm at a place where a child is acceptable to be, like, again, if there's food, if there's, like... Again, if it's a family-oriented place that also just happens to serve beer.
See, I think that's a thing now with the new brew pubs. I don't know. I'm noticing it. I think the brew pub owners have kids, and they're like, yeah, let's make it dog-friendly, kid-friendly. Everybody's welcome. Just come.
How come they're not cat-friendly? We need cat-friendly.
Yeah.
I
I know.
want cat friendly. I want to pet kitties.
I used to bike around with my cat on the back.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
got my
visit friends and bring the cat with.
Kitty cat.
He was a good cat.
I bought my little kitty a little vest, and he doesn't like it, so I won't take him places. I left him in it for 5 minutes to see what he'd do, and he squirmed out of it.
Just freaked out.
I didn't see that vest for like literally 6 months.
Yeah,
I found
I
it
got rid of it.
the
Hit
other
it.
day,
He hit it.
wedged in between this crevice in my bed. I have a great story about my bed now. So, when I moved, my father and I were moving the bed closer to the wall, and we are weak, so we didn't pick it up. So we're just pushing it, and the bottom feet broke off. So now my bed's just at this angle now, where the bottom touches, and I just have this awesome 45-degree slope to my
So you
bed.
didn't take all the feet off, just the feet that broke or broke. The rest are still there?
The bed's heavy. I can't pick it up. We're not strong humans.
Hammer it out or something? No.
We haven't.
Electrician, maybe just like solder it off or something? No.
I was gonna say we're not that.
Should solder it up.
Solder the legs off, no?
Do you know what electricians do?
Sometimes
They use
we
soldering
solder.
guns. No.
David, do you know what electricians do?
that's why I have you.
Sometimes they solder.
They
You heard her,
sometimes
David.
solder, but I do commercial work, so I don't solder.
Okay.
But
So these legs are there. It's
these
on a
legs
40
are there. I
45
just
degree
sleep
angle.
on a slope.
Okay.
First night, I ended up at the bottom of the bed. Second night, I handled
slope.
myself.
How's the cat feel about this? I mean,
Oh, he loves it.
Slides
he sits,
down?
He
No?
sits at the top.
It's a little slide. He loves it.
He loves my bed. He loves
Yeah.
me.
Get like a silk comforter and he can just zoom. Do you have a cat?
I do.
What's your cat's name?
Calcifer.
Calcifer.
Yeah.
What's
named after-
Calcifer?
He's named after the character in Howl's Moving Castle, the fire demon. But he's cool. He is a snowshoe cat, if that's what you're asking.
So you're telling me it's named after a fire demon, but it's a snowshoe cat.
Right? Ironic.
Ironic.
It's like big guy's named Tiny. No, I didn't get him because he's a snowshoe breed or whatever. He was born under a shed and, he was given to me. And
You're just like, I guess I have a cat now.
So I loved cats. I had Count Von Cat, who was the best, and he got out. He was an outdoor cat, and he didn't come home one day.
Oh no.
So my ex, after a couple months, got Calcifer, got us a new cat. And
Well, the last cat, he just needed to go. His people needed him.
I think so. Maybe Crazy Cat Lady, has him now. That's what I always hoped.
Is your kitty a floofy cat?
Not really. No.
Like a long hair or short
He's
hair?
long hair. Yeah. So snowshoes are a mix between a Siamese and another sort of short hair cat. But they look cool. Their patterns change, over the years.
It's like a Schrodinger's cat.
Yeah, Schrodinger's cat or chameleon kind of style. He can't do it on command or
Ink blot cat. That's what I meant.
Yeah, right.
I was gonna say I thought Schrodinger's cat was where the cat's inside the box, and if you don't look in the box, he could be dead or alive.
Oh my God, it's like my cat.
Right.
My cat has AIDS.
Oh, okay.
And so it's kind of like a Schrodinger's cat. Like one day, who knows? It's alive and dead at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Dying slowly every day.
I was thinking, what's the comic with the one guy whose face, was
Watchmen.
Watchmen, yeah.
Rorschach. I have a Rorschach cat.
Yeah.
Oh my God, how come I haven't named a cat Rorschach yet?
Because you're busy naming it Liberace.
Yeah.
Liberace.
So the reason the cat's named Liberace, you didn't ask,
Is it
but I'm
because
gonna
it
tell
has
you anyway.
AIDS?
No, no, but that
Did
was...
Liberace have AIDS?
He was, I believe he was...
I thought he was HIV
He was gay,
positive.
but I didn't know he was positive.
I don't know. So the reason the cat's name Liberace was because when we moved into the apartment, kind of moving kind of drains the bank account. It's a bit expensive sometimes.
Sure.
With the moving van and the whole thing and the security deposit. So my girlfriend really, really wanted a cat. But because of that, I was the only one that could afford the cat. So I made her a deal. I said, I will buy the cat. It'll be your cat. You own the cat. You take care of the cat. That didn't work out. But I get to name the cat. And so I just thought of the most ridiculous name I could think.
That's why. All right.
It was between Liberace or Table.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Fernando.
So you bought a cat that had feline AIDS? Or
Yeah.
No? Yeah.
And I recommend anybody that doesn't have a cat that's thinking about getting a cat.
Where do you go to?
We went to the Delaware Humane Association to get ours.
Yeah.
I recommend people to get an FIV cat, which is what it's called, first, because if you already have a cat that doesn't have it, you cannot adopt a cat that does have it.
Oh, I see.
Because they can give it to each other.
Yeah.
So
Hot.
if you don't have a cat, get an FIV cat because they're harder to adopt.
Got it.
If you don't have one. And it's a normal fucking cat. It just has a lower immune system.
Yeah.
Which an indoor cat is already going to have a lower immune system. So it's naturally, so it's essentially just having like a built-in indoor cat.
Got it. Yeah.
I bought an old cat. I mean, it's not old, but it wasn't a kitten. And I hear that those are less in demand than the kittens.
Calcifer was a kitten when he was brought to me.
Cats are the greatest pet, right?
They're fun, right?
They're
easy.
You don't have to absolutely tend to their every need. They know what they want, and they take it, buddy.
But you can't bring them to brew pubs, I guess.
Can't bring
I mean, I haven't tried yet, but by God, David.
Yeah.
Morgan, we're opening a brew pub with cats.
We're making a cat bar. I want to take you to a cat bar.
Usually at
Cat
bookstores, right?
bar.
You like books. Cats at bookstores, right? That's a thing.
know what?
Yep.
Yep.
So I do have one more question about like getting into vinyl collecting before we stray too far from the path here.
Sure.
Oh, Lord.
So I asked about audio, like what is your current setup?
Yeah.
But I want to ask, if you could start collecting vinyls again, what would be the advice that you would give yourself to help it make it easier?
Yeah, so if I just got a system, or if I wanted to start, maybe I had some records and I wanted to have something to listen to them on. Yeah, go for the $120 Audio-Technica basic, So that's not an all-in-one though. That's what I'm thinking out loud now. So you'd have to get a receiver. So it seems a little trickier. If you want to have like a nice sound for maybe $200, $250, Maybe you find a couple of speakers at a Goodwill or something that are decent, or you don't know if they're decent, but they're a good price. You try them out. You get the Audio-Technica turntable, and then you get a, $40 to $50 receiver at a local record store or that's used.
When you started collecting, was there any kind of tricks of the trade about where to find them that maybe you would give your advice of?
Yeah, record stores are great. We have a lot in Delaware. Jupiter Records is great. I go there all the time. Rainbow Records in Newark is great. Wonderland, still has records, after all these years. There's lots of spots. I would go to the record stores first, over the summer if you feel like it. Check out the flea markets. Check out your thrift stores, but remember you have to get there before me and the other few flippers that get there early in the morning. But yeah, a lot of people can find them online. There's sites like Discogs now. If you guys have heard of that, you can buy whatever you want on Discogs. Sellers from all over the world.
Oh man.
Yeah, better than eBay.
I just remembered you're a DJ.
Yes.
I just wanted to say that when I masturbate, I consider myself a DJ. Wicka wicka.
Yeah. No, I don't scratch.
I mean, I don't scratch either. I turn.
Yeah, you shouldn't scratch, yeah. Keep those nails clean. That being said, I have a DJing gig coming up March 15th. Oddity Bar, yeah. They do these things on Fridays called the Oddball Art Shows, and it's cool. They have a lot of local artists that come and set up and sell their art. There's a live model that you can draw, and then there's a live DJ. So I'll be doing the March 15th one.
March 15th?
Yeah, it should be cool.
We'll make sure to plug it in the show notes.
Nice.
Well, as we wind down the podcast a little bit.
Turn down.
Turn down
for what?
The podcast. I got to hit you with a little bit of a vinyl quiz.
Okay.
Now, the way the quiz works is it's 5 questions. If you can get 3 questions correct, then that means that me and Morgan are bad at making tough quizzes, and we have to do an additional shot.
You're bad at making quizzes.
You helped with this one.
You didn't help?
I made one question.
That counts.
It counts.
However, stop trying to get out of this, Morgan. You're part of the podcast now. But if you can't get at least 3 questions correct, then that means you have to take an additional shot.
Sure.
Are you ready for the official Maximum Mediocrity vinyl quiz?
I think I am.
Question 1. What is the maximum amount of time that you can record on one side of a 12-inch vinyl?
Ooh. Do I have a range, like of 17?
I have a range here.
17-ish minutes?
17-ish?
Yeah.
Not quite the range I was looking for. Actually, the maximum is around 22 to 23 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
There it is.
A little bit more. If it's on 33 1/3, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't specify
That's fine.
the speed.
Yeah, got it.
Question 2. What is the best-selling vinyl of all time?
Is it Michael Jackson's Thriller?
It is Michael Jackson's Thriller. He is on the board.
I sell a lot of that fucking record.
Question 3. In 1977, we launched 2 Voyager spacecrafts into the heavens. There are 2 golden-plated records on board.
Yeah.
What are the names of those records? It's one name.
Yeah. I don't know the names. I know the story.
Can you give us the story? Briefly?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I heard that this happened.
Good story.
I mean, me
Tell
too.
again. They are called either the Voyager Golden Records,
Okay.
or I like this name, The Sounds of Earth.
Yes. Okay, so I have a CD set of The Sounds of Earth. I forgot that.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah.
My favorite fact about the Golden Records is that it includes saying greetings in 55 different languages.
Yeah, that's cool.
Is that what is?
Hola!
1. Question 4. When was vinyl records? Let me try that again. When was the vinyl record invented?
So Thomas Edison did like shellac, so that was earlier than the vinyl record.
Specifically the vinyl record.
Yeah. I want to say the early 40s, 44
You're
maybe-ish. I know the 45 records, the little guys, the 7 inches, which they called them in the 90s or whatever, it was like 1949.
Actually, I believe they were called the Little Boys.
The little boys were 1949.
The little people.
No, the Little Boys.
The elder kids.
Can I get it? Hot or cold of 1944? Below?
Super cold.
You're actually way off.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Very.
30s?
What?
1930s?
Earlier.
Oh, so,
Vinyl record? Yeah, I thought
vinyl
shellac was back then. Okay.
Vinyl record. When was it invented?
Yeesh. Yeah, I thought vinyl was in the 1940s.
I'll give you a 100-year window.
Vinyl, not shellac? So records, were, that used to be shellac. 78s were all shellac. was made from a different type
When
of
were
material.
the shellacs invented?
That was early, yeah, 1890 until 1940s maybe. Like so, post World War II, I think is when vinyl started.
I'll give you a half credit for that one.
Okay, what do we got?
The year 1888.
Not vinyl though. That's shellac. That's records. Shellac records. It was made from a different material.
Yeah. Okay.
So shellac and vinyl are two different things.
So this was made of rubber, actually.
Yeah, and they tried so many different things. I've read a story where they were trying to make, a medium for music to be on, and they tried so many different things, over the years.
So I'll give that to you
because
because
I think vinyl was 1944.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll give that to you just because I did say vinyl, and I may have gotten
So
confused
records
with my
earlier,
research.
18 something.
Yeah, I guess I should say when
Thomas
was the
Edison.
first LP record invented.
Okay, right. And then 78s, they could only fit one song on each side.
I'll give it to you just for your knowledge of that. That was impressive.
Thank you.
David not knowing.
So what's that? That's two so far.
Yeah.
So this last one, it's a tiebreaker.
Okay.
And if you get this would be pretty interesting. Question 5. What was the first 12-inch vinyl recording ever released? What was played on that?
That's a tough one, too. So 12 inches. So again, I think the shellac, it was generally on 10 inches up until 1940. So
Specifically, I checked this one. It was the 12-inch.
Okay, yeah. Would it have been a classical thing?
Maybe.
Maybe a Beethoven? I don't know. Yeah. I'm going to go with, can I phone someone? What do they call that?
No.
Lifeline? No?
No.
Oh, you want to phone a friend?
Text someone?
We've never had a phone
Can
a
we
friend.
phone a friend?
Yes.
You're gonna allow that?
I don't have a friend
Absolutely,
to phone.
we
unless-
can.
I like
All
it.
right, let's phone a friend.
I wish we had. Okay, I'm going to try to insert the Who Wants
do
to Be a
something.
Millionaire music into this.
You can't. I feel like there are some legal things.
Dun, dun,
Fuck
dun,
copyright.
Well, let's make our own. Or make your own, sort of.
Let's
You
call
have
him.
to call.
Because then he can't
That's
use
how it
Google
works.
to figure it out. Can you put him on speaker?
Can't use Google. I was hoping he would use Google.
That would be cheating.
Yeah, how do you think I figured out the question?
Google.
I don't know if he's going to this answer. I was hoping he'd be my Google guy.
No.
Can't Google. I'm sorry, you can't use the basis of all human knowledge.
But he's in California. But it's 3 hours behind. So yeah, he's,
Oh yeah, it's like
is he
no.
still?
I
No, it's a
was
Saturday. He's not working. I'm going to say the first 12-inch, what was it?
Can we just give him if he guesses the artist?
Yeah,
Because I feel like that's pretty
I think
incredible knowledge.
not Beethoven?
Do you guess Beethoven? Is that your final answer, Beethoven?
First 12-inch, because prior to that, pre-World War, it was a lot of 78s, 10-inch records. Americana or a blues artist, maybe? Could have been a blues artist.
I'll give you this. It is classical.
It is classical.
I'm not going to confirm or deny any of it.
Right. Let's say it's Beethoven. I'll go with Beethoven.
Beethoven, final answer?
Sure.
Let's take a look. Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. He's got it. Congratulations.
Shot.
He has passed the official Maximum Mediocrity vinyl quiz.
Nice.
And we now have to get drunk, which is probably for the best.
Yeah.
Shellac.
I gotta
That
go.
just sounds like.
Shellac, right?
It sounds so good. It makes me
Rubber.
think that it's clean. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you picture a bald head.
Funny.
Clean bald head.
All the viewers back home know that I love those bald heads. It's
Morgan,
David.
cheers to Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Oh, that was a mistake.
For classical music, I like the Bumblebee song.
I like that one too.
I'm not sure. I know that's not the name of it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's actually called. I think it's like The Chase of the Bumblebee or something like that. But that's the one I like.
I like that one. Yeah, I don't know classical. It's a fun thing when you're out digging and you're buying for other people or to resell. Like, classical's not my wheelhouse. I can do classic rock, punk,
I'm just saying,
hip hop.
me and David have this whole thing where we have named every instrument ever known to man. It's our fun game that I like to play. I don't care how David feels about it.
I hate it.
Named every instrument.
Ever known to man.
Is there maybe an obscure instrument that you think you can add to the list?
Ooh.
We have it all dedicated to memory, and it's been
The
hundreds
saz,
of-
right?
What is it?
The Turkish instrument, the saz. Isn't it kind of like a
You're right, we did not name that.
mandolin-ish
We did
instrument?
not name the
Like
massage.
the double strings like a mandolin, but the saz.
The saz.
I think so. I'm probably saying it wrong. It's a cool instrument. Sounds good. I can picture it in my ear right now.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We had a great time with you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
And can you give us those dates one more time of where you're going to be at?
Sure, yeah. So February, the Newark Bike Project, February 17th. We're setting up and doing a punk rock flea market. There should be tons of vinyl records, all kinds of good stuff related. And then DJ-wise, I am spinning at the Oddity Bar at the Oddball Art Show, March 15th. Should be a good time.
And if people wanted to learn more about you, do you have any social media that are public that you'd want people to check you out on?
Sure. So I have the record account. It's Dusty Fingers, if you wanted to put a link in your whatever, because it has a couple underscores in it.
Dusty_Fingers_.
Correct. Yep, that's it. And I just post records that I find, stuff for sale or for trade, events coming up, etc.
I love it.
Cool.
Well, to the people out there, thank you very much for listening. Get yourself some Dusty Fingers. Go find some vinyls that you love and display them. I love it. And
wear a condom.
Wear a condom. Do you have any final message for the people?
Amen.
Amen.